Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and in today's video we're just going to continue on with our electrical videos, and this one is going to show us how to wire a four-way light switch. And I've just done one example because in my opinion this is the best way to go if you're a DIYer and able to do your own wiring, and it just keeps everything really simple. So in this scenario we're actually having all three switches ahead of the lights, and we're having the power go into the first switch box to begin with. Okay, so the power will come in, this is our supply line here, comes into the first switch, then will be wired over to the actual four-way switch, and then wired up to the last three-way switch, and then on to the lights. And you could have however many lights your circuit will handle. We just put one on for this example. So starting right back here at the beginning, I guess first off, in a four-way switch series like this, what you're going to need is actually two three-way switches. Okay, I've got the power turned off right now, so if I'm touching stuff here, it's only because I know I'm safe. So on a three-way switch, you're going to have three screws on the side of it, not including some of you in the US and even in Canada, there might be a green ground screw on your switch. We don't have any on any of these switches. So it wouldn't be including that. So you should end up with a black screw and two brass colored screws. Okay, so that's a three-way switch. On a four-way switch, you're going to have two black screws and two brass screws. Okay, not including the ground. Okay, so in a four-way light circuit, you're going to have two three-way switches in this setup and one four-way. Okay, so our power comes in, and in this case, at every box in this scenario, all of our whites are just moretted together. So our neutral is going from box to box to box. Okay, so we won't even really talk about them at this point. Okay, so they just come in, get moretted together, and off to the next one moretted, off to the next one moretted, and off to the lights. Okay, so we won't even talk about the whites right now. The grounds, same thing. They're all going to come into the box, each box, get attached to a ground screw in the very back. So if I don't get in the way, you can see this one here. This is the ground, or the wire coming out of the main supply. It's behind this ground screw. In the US, you might find those screws are green. And then it's simply twisted together with the ground wire that came out of this next feed. Okay, and that's just pushed back into the box, and the same thing on every one. Now if you're in the US and you need your switches grounded to that circuit, you would also have an extra piece of ground twisted in there and coming out and attached to the ground screw on your switch. Okay, so that'll go all the way through the circuit that way. Okay, so we've got the neutrals and the grounds out of the way. Let's just get down to the wires that are hot. Okay, so coming in again, supply in this cable, we're going to have a black wire. That's this one right here. So coming into our first three-way switch, the power supply will hook to the common screw, which is the black screw. Okay, now joining this box of the first switch to the second switch is going to be a piece of 14-3 cable. So inside of that cable, you're going to have a white, a red, and a black cable. Okay, we've already talked about the whites. The black and the red simply hook on to the other two screws here on this switch. Okay, then from there, we're following around through your wall or wherever you went up into your next switch, which should be the four-way switch. Actually, I'm going to pull it off to the side here. So when I come over here, this cable coming from our first switch has a black and a red in it, and a white, which is coupled over here. We don't need to worry about it. Those ones there coming from the first switch will, actually it doesn't matter which screws they go to. They either both go to the brass screws, like the red and black on the brass, or they go to the common screw. Okay, as long as both of them coming from that first switch hook onto the identical screw. Okay, so we've done that. Over to our third switch, which is another three-way at the end of the switch line. We're connected with a 3-wire cable again, so that's a 14-3. So we have another red and black coming in at this 4-way switch. Those 2 wires will hook on to the 2 screws that you didn't use. Okay, so in this case I used the common screws for that. Okay, so we've got that. Up back to the last 3-way switch. The black and red wire coming out of this 3-wire cable are going to hook to the brass screws on this switch. Okay. This last black screw is the one that wire is the one that heads off to the lights, and it'll be in a 14-2 cable, and it hooks to the common screw, the black screw. Okay. What this ensures is that whenever you hit one of these switches, either on or off, it either opens or closes the circuit, as long as you've got it wired this way, so it'll turn the light on and off. And like I said, if we've only got one light here, if you had more than one light, you would simply have the blacks pigtailed together and the whites pigtailed together, heading off to the next lights, and it would just be the same, light to light to light. Okay, and obviously your ground's grounded to the box and grounded to the light if it has that ability. Okay, so I'm just going to plug this sample board in so we can just show you that everything's working. Okay, so I obviously had one switch on somewhere because our light came on right away. So now at any one of these switch locations, I can either turn off or turn on that light or that series of lights. Where this is usually done, because a 4-way setup isn't real common, especially in residential, but sometimes in a big room you may have it switched from 3 different locations. So that's a 4-way light switch setup. Everything is, if it's wired just like this will work. There's other ways of doing it, but this is the easiest and, in my opinion, the most common way to do it. And this also leaves a neutral wire at every switch location. So if you ever wanted to put on some kind of electronic device like a timer or something like that that requires a ground, or sorry, not a ground, a neutral, you've got that neutral at all these positions, so you can put that in there anywhere. Okay, so hopefully that made sense, and it's going to help you along in your 4-way switch wiring project that you have coming up. And if it doesn't make sense, or you have a question or any question related to one of your projects, please come to our forum, post your question up there. That's the best way to get a hold of me and get a hold of the other knowledgeable people that we have helping out there, from everything from electrical to plumbing to anything building related, pretty much. Okay, so post your question up in the forum. If you want to assist us in making more of these videos to help everybody out, I'd like you to go right now to our Patreon link below, and there you'll be given the opportunity to maybe give us a little donation if you feel you'd like to. Okay, thanks a lot for watching.